All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. This is Unique Financing in a Specialized Industry. My name's Sarah Purcell. I work here with Possum, and today we've got Carrie Radloff on with us. She's a business development manager with Red Thread Financial. She's got over 20 years of experience in the industry, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to her, and she's going to get us started.
I wanted to first introduce you to Red Thread Financial. We are a commercial finance and lease company based out of Gary, South Dakota, and we specialize in financing to the creative services industries. Kind of specifically, we do a lot of business in the quilting and embroidery markets, screen printing, and commercial sewing. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of American Financial Partners. And that's kind of how we got our start. Back in 2004, we started financing to various industries and equipment. And we found a specialization in the creative services markets. That started to grow exponentially. And in 2011, we created Red Thread Financial to specifically service the customer base for the creative services market. We definitely found a need there that wasn't being offered in the market, and have had a lot of success helping many customers finance various pieces of equipment for their businesses. Some of the guidelines of our program: we offer commercial and business financing. So our program is aimed more for people who either have a business set up, who are planning to start a business, or even for customers who plan to be using their equipment for income generation. Specifically, I would say in the quilting market, not all of our customers who are using their equipment for income generation have businesses officially filed when we fund their transaction, but their goal with the equipment is to generate income and run it sort of as a business. So we run into customers who, quilt for others or do embroidery work for others, screen printing. Some customers will rent out their machine for income. Some customers are creating patterns with their equipment. All of those would match our program guidelines. The one thing we're not able to do is personal or consumer financing. We're not licensed to do that, so all of our contracts are ran as business and commercial financing. We offer both finance and lease options, and there's not a whole lot of differences between those two programs. We typically will talk through those options with each applicant to see what would be the best fit for them. And we'll make sure they get in a program that's going to work for what they're looking for. Many of our customers are new businesses. Many of our customers work from home. Some of our customers just work at the business part-time. And those are all approved options for us to look at financing. So I would just suggest, if it's a situation where you are interested in possibly getting a machine for income generation, to call me and we can talk through your scenario and I can quote some payments and terms and such for you. As far as the equipment types that we finance a lot of machines. So that would be long arm machines, commercial sewing machines, embroidery machines, screen print presses, all kinds of those types of equipment. We do a lot of computer upgrades, especially on the long arm industry, so we can finance just the computer. For people that have storefronts and such, we finance the point of sale systems for those businesses. We can finance computers and software that way, tables, chairs, shelving. We've even done an enclosed trailer for a few customers who, put their embroidery machine in a trailer and travel to shows and fairs and such to do work. So we don't really have any specific equipment types that have to be financed. We will look at doing a broad selection of equipment as long as it makes sense for the business. Aside from the equipment financing needs as well, we also offer other types of finance programs. For example, we offer working capital programs. If customers want to increase their inventory and need some cash to do that, or maybe have a marketing plan, or even sometimes when people get new contracts and they just need some money to get everything ready for that contract. So we have working capital programs available. We offer business lines of credit that are kind of meant to be maybe a stepping stone before you would qualify for a line of credit with your bank. We offer SBA financing. We do commercial real estate. So there's a lot of other options available as well that we can help a customer with. As far as the terms for our contracts, all of our terms are going to be based on the customer's credit application. So we will look at personal credit. We will look at if it's been a business that's been around for a while, if there's any business credit established, and that's okay if there's not. If they're a new business, we look at the term of the contract, how much we're financing. There's a number of things that play into that. And I am happy to talk through with anyone their specific situation and give them an idea of where our payments and terms would end up for them. All of our contracts have fixed interest rates, even if there's a late payment. So there are some other types of finance structures in the market that offer a lower interest rate with the condition that if a payment is made late, that the interest rate skyrockets up high. We don't have that type of option. So once you're locked into your payments with us, those don't change, even if you do have a late payment. Our customers will always own their equipment at the end of the term. Even if we structure the financing on a lease, our leases are all lease to own. They'll have something similar to a $1 buyout at the end, and so customers know they will own their equipment at the end. From a term standpoint, we will typically finance anywhere from 12 to 60 months. In some cases, if we have a really large transaction, maybe with multiple machines and such, we do have 72 to 84 month options. But typically, we're going to run most of our contracts that 12 to 60 month range. We have flexible payment programs. One of our most popular is the 90-day deferred option. A lot of our customers will take advantage of that program, as that allows them to get into their machine, and it gives them some time to get some business established and make some revenue off the machine before they have to start their monthly payments. We offer a 6x99 program where the first 6 payments are only $99. We offer a lot of options with 0 down upfront, so they can get into their equipment with relatively no money down. We offer seasonal payments in some situations if a customer may have a seasonal business. So there's a lot of options available there. We have a minimum finance amount of $5,000, and we do not have any maximum. So we can finance very large transactions. In fact, right now we're working with someone who's getting multiple machines for their quilting business for over $300,000. So we have no problem working on the larger transactions as well as, the smaller ones over $5,000. All right, as far as the process, getting started with the financing, I will always tell customers that anyone can call me at any time if they want to talk through their specific situation. So I'm always open to calls. But our experience in this business often means that we're going to be a lot quicker and require a lot less information for approval than what a bank typically would ask for. So we don't ask for a business plan. Typically, we don't require tax returns, bank statements, personal financial statements, and all of that information that a bank would normally ask for, especially if you're starting up a new business. We've been niched in these markets for well over 10 years. We understand the business, we understand the equipment, and we understand the value of the equipment. And a lot of times that can be very refreshing to a customer who has attempted to finance with their bank, as most banks don't understand this market and that equipment like we do. We have a very simple one-page application that we have customers fill out. We have an online application through our website, which is redthreadfinancial.com. Once we receive that application, we do a brief phone interview with every customer. We want to get to know our customers. We want to find out about your quilting background, or whatever business background you have, what you're looking to do with your current business, what equipment you're looking to get and how that's going to help you. And then we'll talk through as well what terms you're looking for, if there's any down payments you want to make, a lot of different things. In some situations, we do require verification that a business has been filed, but not all of our programs require that. So that's one of the reasons we will call and talk with all our applicants so that we have an idea of what their plans are as far as whether they're going to file a business right away or not, so we can make sure we get them in the right program for them. So once we have a decision on the customer's application, I will email that to the customer and call and walk through any questions they have and the details of the approval and what the next steps are. And the one thing you'll find with Red Thread is that we walk with the customer every step of the way throughout the documents, the funding process, even after the deal has funded. So that's one of the accolades that we get a lot from our customers, is that we have very strong service. We answer the phone when people call, and we're returning messages quickly, and we really are there with them every step of the way. And I would recommend to look at the Red Thread Financial Facebook page. We have a review section out there, and we have a number of really nice reviews from customers that we've financed and vendors who have used us to promote financing for their customers. But we do a lot of repeat business with our customers because of how we handle and service our customers. So some of the benefits of Red Thread's finance program is, again, we are application only, meaning we typically only need the one-page application. We have quick approval processes. We normally will have a decision back to a customer within a business day, and in some cases it's within a few hours. We have minimal upfront costs, and so with most of our programs, we require only 0 to 2 payments upfront. There's a minimal processing fee that covers the processing of the transaction, but we do not collect any money from a customer unless they accept our approval terms and they do want to move forward with funding on them. So there's no cost to apply with our program or to get approved with our program. We offer 100% financing, which means we can roll in any accessories, shipping, install, training, sales tax, any of those other soft costs can be rolled into the financing. And we do offer early buyout options as well, meaning that if a customer wants to pay off quicker and earlier, that they can save on the payback of it if they pay off earlier. Again, the team at Red Thread is going to give personal service to everyone who calls in and sends in an application. And it's typically very refreshing for our customers to know that they're working with a staff that's knowledgeable in the creative services markets. Again, our programs are all fixed payments and interest rates, so those payments do not fluctuate even if there's a late payment. We only take the equipment as collateral. So when we fund a transaction, we will place a lien on the equipment we're financing. But unlike a bank, we do not file blanket liens on business or personal assets. We also do not ask for, your house as collateral, your car as collateral, or any other items like that as additional collateral. Because our programs are all commercial, most of our customers can qualify for the Section 179 tax deduction for business owners. And if you go to the redthreadfinancial.com website and click on resources, there is a flyer in there that talks a little bit more about Section 179. With most business owners, as long as you're showing a profit, you have the option to write off the equipment we are financing in the year that it's placed in service. And typically, most equipment will qualify for the Section 179 deduction. The only items that I believe do not qualify are customized software programs. But as far as equipment and machinery and point of sale and all of those, that would qualify under the Section 179. And I do have to put a disclaimer that I'm not able to give tax advice. I'm not able to do that, but I'm happy to talk through some of the options that I believe are available and would suggest that anyone talk with their tax preparer directly about the best options for them in their business. So that concludes my presentation. I'd like to open it up to any questions that anyone has. And as far as questions too, there is a chat box that you can send a chat to me specifically or to everyone. So feel free to do that, or there is a way too that you can wave your hand and then we can allow you to talk if you have a specific question that way as well.
Thank you so much, Carrie. That was great.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. I'm going to add a couple of additional quick things that I was just thinking that sometimes people will ask. So one thing we ask is if we require a credit check. And we do pull a personal credit bureau report on all of our applicants. We typically would require any of the owners of the business to sign personally on the contract, which is pretty standard in commercial financing. But when we pull a credit bureau, we typically will just pull a soft pull, which means that it will not show up as an inquiry on your credit bureau report. Depending on the program that we place you with, there could be a hard credit pull at that point. But one of the advantages of our program is that because it's written as a business contract, this debt will not report to your personal credit bureau report. Perfect, and I do see we had another question come in through the chat. Do you finance software or just tangible items? So yes, we do finance software. Same term, same application, and we would gladly look at financing software for your business.
Yeah, that's a common question that we get with Possum software as well is, if they can finance it so that they don't have to pay all at once. So that's great information to have.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do a lot of software financing, especially with the point of sale systems. And that's a great way to, like you said, take that expense so that it's not an upfront business expense to you. Because, when you're opening a business or even if you're expanding, there's a lot of other expenses that are there. So to be able to carry that out into, a 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5-year term is really helpful for business owners to be able to cash flow their business.
Okay, so that brings me to another question that we have, and That is, what is the maximum amount of time that your clients have to finance?
Sure. So as far as the terms, our typical max term is 60 months. Um, Again, if we run into a situation where we're financing a pretty large amount with multiple machines and what have you, there are situations where we can extend that to a 72 or an 84-month term. But I would say most of our contracts we write are 36 months to 60 months.
Okay, great. And in your experience, about how long does that process take? Like from the point that one of your clients is filling out their application to when they get that financing so they can go ahead and start using their equipment?
Sure. Yeah, it will vary for every customer, obviously, but we went from an application to funding within a business day in some situations when customers are really in a rush to get something. I would say typically you're looking at maybe a week. And normally it's just because we're waiting for a couple of items from the customer, or they're finalizing their order with the vendor and we're waiting on the invoice, waiting for them to sign the documents and such. But we can work as quickly as the customer needs us to work. So we can certainly push things through very fast if that's something that they need.
Wow, one day, that's pretty quick.
Yes. Some people really want to move fast.
So I know you talked about that you can defer payments for 90 days. That's one of your plans. But is 90 days the longest you can defer payment?
I would say typically yes. We do also offer 6 by 99. So it's not a zero payment option, but for the first 6 months, the payments each month are only $99. So I would say that's very similar to a deferred payment option. Um, so between 90 days and that 6 by 99 would be the maximum deferred options that we would have available. And then they would start their regular monthly payments after that.
Okay. And do you have any idea of like what happens if someone misses a payment?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously have customers who miss payments, and we call them and just try to find out what's going on with them. And a lot of times it's a situation where we can work with them to get that made up. So I guess we handle that we want to know, what's going on and how we can help and try to get them back on track. There would be a fee if they were, depending on how late they were on the contract, a small late fee. But we certainly try to jump in there and get the payment before that would happen. And again, nothing would change as far as their payments on the contract. So even if they are late, the contract stays, the payments stay as they were. Um, and very rarely do we run into customers who just aren't able to make the payments any longer or keep their machines. When we do run into that situation, again, because we know this industry so well, we typically will step in and try to help that customer find a buyer for their equipment and just try to help them, get out of the contract the best way possible. And um, you know, we help our customers throughout the whole process, regardless of the situation.
All right. Looks like we have another question in the chat here. What are some of the most common items you see being financed in your experience?
Yeah. So on the red thread side, mainly we are doing probably machines and computers and software, I would say. We do a lot of long arm quilting machines, the computer add-ons for those. We do a lot of embroidery machines. And then especially as people have storefronts or are starting those up, we'll see the point of sale systems, and some of the equipment that may go with that, such as the tables, chairs, and some of those items.
Okay, awesome. And then I have one more here. So we know that you do the pretty quick credit application, but how does it work to where it doesn't impact their client's credit line with the bank?
With the bank, sure. So if a business owner has a credit line with their bank, typically that bank will have a blanket lien on all their assets. They will keep an eye on any debt that's out there. They have to typically supply updated financials on a regular basis. They have covenants to meet. There's a lot of things that go with that. And so with our financing, basically, we are only taking a lien on that machine that they're financing. And so it's not affecting any of their blanket liens with their bank. And it also does not report to their personal credit bureau report. And so it's not going to affect them, especially if they are looking at doing anything personally, like a car loan or a mortgage or things like that. It's not going to affect the debt to income ratio for them personally because it's written under the business.
Okay, great. And I know you talked about some seasonal payment options. How does that work?
Yeah, so in some situations, we'll run across business owners who are maybe seasonal. One thing I can think of is that we have some customers. I had mentioned the enclosed trailer where somebody will put, say, an embroidery machine or a screen printer, heat press in a trailer and go to fairs and such. And so sometimes in those situations, they may have more of a seasonal business based on when their fairs and shows are. And so in those cases, we try to find out, what are the months that most of their revenue is made in, and what are the months that they're really slow in. And then we can try to put together seasonal payments so that their larger payments are going to be when they're seeing most of the revenue in their business. And then during the months where they have low revenue, we can have, either reduced payments or typically we collect at least $100 a month just so that they remember, the payments are there. But we can definitely get those payments lower in their slower months so that it's not hurting their cash flow as much during those slower months.
Okay, great. I think that's all the questions that we have. We're going to go ahead and leave the chat in the questions module open for a little while, just in case anybody has some questions that they'd like to add in. Carrie, if you want to put your contact information up on the screen there so that people can see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and definitely. And my cell phone is on there, and I take calls and texts on my cell phone all the time. So don't be afraid to reach out to my cell phone, especially outside of business hours. Our office is typically open from 8 to 5 Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Outside of that time, I would actually recommend people to try my cell phone. If I'm available, I typically will take those calls and texts.
Perfect. And if you are interested in Possum, which is a point of sale software, um, we have our sales information here. So Curtis Robbins is going to be our account executive. So his email and phone number is there on the screen for you if you'd like to get in touch. And if you're currently a Possum client, we have your client success manager contact information there as well. Wolfgang will be there to help you guys out. Yeah, so thank you so much, Carrie, for joining us and giving us all that great information.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.